I caught my wife cheating and I didn't leave. Not right away. Not because I forgave her. Not because I was weak. But because I wanted to see who she really was when the mask slipped. Started with a phone call. She was in the shower. Her phone was on the counter, buzzing like it was on fire. I shouldn't have looked. I really shouldn't have. But I did. The name on the screen wasn't familiar. Jason, work gym. We don't go to a gym. And suddenly, I felt my stomach twist in that sick way it does when your mind already knows what your heart refuses to believe. I didn't answer it. Just stared as the call ended and a text popped up. Last night was unreal. I still smell you. My hands started shaking. I wanted to smash the phone. Or confront her right there, dripping in the shower, clueless that her whole world was burning on the bathroom counter. But instead, I did what I'd later realize was the most dangerous thing I could have done. I waited. That night I couldn't sleep. I lay next to her, watching her breathe, wondering how many lies she'd told me while looking me in the eye, wondering how many nights she'd texted him while I rubbed her feet, wondering how long I'd been the punchline in someone else's private joke. She had no idea I knew, and somehow that gave me power. So I started watching her closely. She didn't change anything. That was the worst part. No guilt, no nervousness, no sudden attempts to act sweeter. She was calm, effortless, cruel without even realizing it. Over the next week, I collected everything. The gym bag in her car that never smelled like sweat. The hotel receipts in her email, disguised as business travel. The way she suddenly wore perfume to run errands. The phone always flipped screen down, always on silent. The quick bathroom breaks during dinner, followed by half-hidden smiles when she returned. She was cheating. I had no doubt. But the question that haunted me wasn't, who? It was, why did she stop choosing me? We'd been together 10 years. Married 6. I wasn't perfect. I know that. But I never imagined this. I'd planned vacations for us. Celebrated her birthday like it was a national holiday. I held her when she cried over nothing. I paid off her student loans. Cooked. I listened. I stayed loyal. And now I was a ghost in my own marriage. So I decided to ghost her back. No confrontation. No shouting. Not yet. I wanted to see how far she'd go. And I needed to know if she'd ever come back on her own. A few nights later, I followed her. She said she was meeting her friend Lauren for wine and catching up. I said, "Sounds fun." She smiled, kissed me lightly, then left. 20 minutes later, I was in my car. I tailed her to a bar downtown. She wasn't with Lauren. She was with him, Jason. He was taller than me, younger maybe, cocky smile. The kind of guy who drinks whiskey and thinks it makes him mysterious. She was laughing with him like she hadn't laughed with me in years. They sat close, real close. Her hand was on his knee, and I felt like I'd been shot in the chest. I didn't confront them. I didn't cause a scene. I just sat in my car, watching from across the street, gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles went white. She came home at 1:30 a.m., slipped into bed like nothing happened. I pretended to be asleep. She curled into me, like she used to when she loved me, and I lay there, pretending I was still the man she wanted. The next morning, she made pancakes. She hadn't made breakfast in months. Said she was too tired or not hungry or in a rush. But this morning, pancakes, coffee, juice, even the good syrup. She smiled, kissed my forehead, asked, "Sleep okay?" I nodded, lied. Inside, I was screaming. Why now? Why pancakes? Was it guilt or habit? I stared at her across the table and wondered how long she could keep pretending I was the only man she wanted. I thought about confronting her that day. I really did. But part of me was still hoping she'd come clean on her own. That something inside her would snap. That she'd break down. Confess. Beg. Cry. She didn't. She asked if I could pick up her dry cleaning. Then kissed me goodbye. I stood there in the doorway, holding a kiss from a stranger. That night, I opened her laptop. She always used her phone. But sometimes, she forgot to log out of her email on the MacBook. She hadn't. I found an email chain labeled J. Private. There were dozens of messages. Some flirty, some explicit, some deeply emotional. She called him safe. She called me predictable. She said I was a good man, but that I didn't see her anymore. And in that moment, something inside me broke in a new way. Not because she cheated, but because she rewrote our history to justify it. That night I drank. I rarely drink. It's just not my thing. But that night, I downed half a bottle of whiskey and sat in our bedroom, staring at our wedding photo on the dresser. She looked so happy in that picture, and I looked so sure. I wondered if we were both acting, even back then. I wondered if all couples eventually drift. I wondered if I had failed her. Then I wondered why the hell I was blaming myself for her betrayal. The next day I called my best friend, Matt. I hadn't told anyone, not a soul. When he answered, I broke. Like full-on ugly cried. Couldn't breathe. Couldn't talk. Just sobbed into the phone like a man who finally admitted his whole world was gone. Matt drove over in 10 minutes. Didn't say anything at first. Just hugged me. Then I told him everything. And he said something I'll never forget. You don't have to decide today, but you do have to start choosing you again. That night, I slept in the guest room. She noticed. Asked, "Are you okay?" I said, "Just tired." She looked at me differently, like something had shifted. Maybe she felt the distance. Maybe she thought I'd found out. But she didn't ask. And I didn't explain. We were living in the same house, but breathing different air. 1 week later, I got my answer. She came home late. Again. I didn't say anything. Just sat on the couch, TV on mute, scrolling my phone. She said, "Work ran long." I said, "Cool." She stared at me. "Everything okay?" I looked up, and for the first time in weeks, I told the truth. "No, everything's not okay." She froze. "What do you mean?" I stood up, walked to our bedroom, pulled open her dresser drawer, held up the new lingerie set I'd seen her wearing 2 nights ago. "You didn't wear this for me." Her mouth opened, closed. Nothing came out. I said, "I know about Jason." She went pale. She sat down slowly, like her legs were giving out. "How long have you known?" she whispered. I didn't answer right away, just stared at her, the woman I once thought I'd grow old with, now sitting in front of me, broken, but only because she got caught. "Long enough," I finally said. "Long enough to watch you lie to my face and call it love." She started crying. Not the kind of crying you do when you're in pain. The kind you do when you've been exposed. "I didn't mean for it to go this far," she said. "I was just, I don't know, lost." I almost laughed. "Lost? You don't accidentally end up in hotel rooms with another man. You had choices," I said. "And you made them, repeatedly." She shook her head. "You don't understand. I felt invisible. Then leave. You could have left. You could have told me you weren't happy. You didn't need to burn the whole house down just to feel warm again." Her face twisted in guilt. Or maybe it was shame. I couldn't tell anymore. Then came the pleading. She begged me not to leave. Said she'd go to therapy. Said she'd cut him off. Said it was just a phase. A stupid mistake. Not who I really am. All the classics. I said nothing. Because nothing she could say would undo what she did. She destroyed the thing I thought we were building. And she did it so carelessly. "You're really going to throw away 10 years?" she asked, through tears. "No," I said. "You did." I packed a bag. She followed me from room to room, crying, apologizing, saying things I used to dream of hearing. But now, it was just noise. She had her chance. Every single day. And she threw it away for a man she barely knew, because he made her feel seen. I saw her. Every day. She just stopped seeing me back. When I walked out the front door, she collapsed on the floor behind me. I didn't turn back. Not out of cruelty, but because I was done. Done begging to be loved properly. Done wondering if I was enough. Done living in a lie. I stayed with Matt for a few days. Then got a short-term rental. Those first nights were brutal. Silence has a way of amplifying every thought. I kept hearing her voice, seeing her face, remembering our vacations, our late-night laughs, The plans we made that would never happen now. But I also started remembering myself. What I liked. Who I was before I became a background character in my own life. She kept texting. Every morning. Every night. Sometimes it was, "I'm sorry." Sometimes it was, "I miss you." Once, it was, "I'm lost without you." I didn't reply, because the person I was becoming didn't belong to that version of my past anymore. About 2 weeks later, she showed up at my door. No warning. Just there. Eyes red. Hands shaking. She looked like she hadn't slept. "I ended it with him," she said. "I've been in therapy. I'm trying. Please, just talk to me." I let her in. We sat across from each other. And for the first time, I saw her not as my wife, but as someone I used to love. "You didn't just cheat on me," I said. "You lied to me every day. You made me feel like I was crazy for suspecting. You let me carry the weight of your guilt like it was mine." She nodded, crying silently. "I believe you're sorry. I believe you're trying. But I also believe I can't go back." She broke then. But I didn't, because I was already moving forward. I started waking up early. Not because I had to, but because I wanted to. I began walking around the neighborhood every morning, just breathing in the cold air, letting the silence settle around me like a new skin. One morning, I passed a bookstore cafe I'd walked by 1,000 times but never entered. This time I went in. That's where I met her. Her name was Rachel. She was behind the counter, tying her apron when I walked in. She smiled like she meant it, like she didn't know who I was, or what I'd been through, and didn't care. I ordered coffee, then came back the next day. And the next. We talked. About books. About travel. About dumb childhood injuries and our favorite sad movies. Nothing heavy. Nothing romantic. Just human. I didn't tell her I was healing from a marriage that exploded. I didn't have to. She didn't push. And that, somehow, made me feel seen in a way I hadn't felt in years. I wasn't falling in love. I wasn't looking for anything. But I was remembering that I could be curious again. Open. Real. A few weeks later, I signed the divorce papers. She cried when I handed them over. Tried one last time to apologize. To plead. "I know," I said. "And I forgive you. But I can't be the man you only learned to love after losing." I didn't hate her. I didn't love her either. Not anymore. What I felt was something I hadn't expected. Peace. Real, unshakable peace. We drifted out of each other's lives after that. No long emails. No late-night calls. Just the occasional paperwork and silence. And it was okay. Now, when I think of her, it's like watching a movie I used to love but outgrew. I remember the plot, the soundtrack, the way it made me feel. But I don't want to rewatch it. I've got new stories to live. Sometimes, healing doesn't come from revenge. Or rage. Or some grand dramatic ending. Sometimes it comes when you quietly choose yourself and don't look back. And that's what I did. I chose me, and I haven't regretted it for a single second since.